as I mentioned, let's take an example of how to go about with designing a product solution, designing an MVP or a minimum viable product, and then taking it up to full rollout. I will start by sharing my screen. Yes. So we'll talk about how to take a feature from MVP to full rollout. And in that process, hopefully, we will all learn how to launch a feature or a product with an MVP, how to iterate and improve it, how to grow adoption of that feature. So the product manager's job, remember, is business as well. It's not just technology and UX. So it's not that the product manager can go and report that, hey, you asked me to build something, I built it, and now nobody's using it, but I don't care. It's their job to ensure that users use the feature that they've built and grow adoption, if not make any course corrections and changes such that the friction is reduced for the users and they're able to adopt this. And hopefully by learning all of these, we can become better PMs and learn a little to do our jobs a little better, right? So as an illustration, taking anything from MVP to full rollout is essentially a problem of scaling. And scaling requires new solutions to existing problems. This is a thought that is often not fully understood or embraced by people who feel that I can just do more of my existing solution to scale it up to larger numbers. For example, if I have a sales team that sells a certain product to say 100 people, and I want to now sell to 10,000 people, I'll just hire more salespeople and continue the same sales cycle. Not true. Let's take a quick look at an example of how a solution can be designed and scaled up for a very simple problem of providing water to N people. So we will see how the solution changes as N increases from 1 to several thousands. So when N is 1, that is the user or you are required to provide just one drink of water to one person. So there's just one person and you need to provide them with one drink of water. It's as simple as just bringing them a glass of water and that's it, problem solved. Let's increase N a bit. So let's say there are a few people, there are say 3 or 4 people, and you want to reuse the same solution, that is the existing glass of water. And say you have just one glass of water, just one glass. So you can provide one glass of water to one person, wait for them to finish drinking it, then go back, clean it, refill it, and then again bring the glass of water to the second person. So by doing this, getting water to 3 or 4 people can be very cumbersome and slow. So how do you change this? You bring a bottle of water, which is probably enough to give a drink of water to 3 or 4 people. Remember that the problem statement stayed the same. You're still providing drinking water to people, but the shape of the solution, the manifestation of the solution changed from a glass to a bottle. Now, extending this further, say you need to provide drinking water to many people, say 10 or 12 people or 15 people, a conference room full of people, right? Again, using the existing solution for a few people of a single bottle of water and having the same issues of cleaning it, refilling it, and then passing it on to the next group of people could be very cumbersome. How do you solve this? You solve this with a canister of water or a dispenser that is placed at the corner of the room, and the audience can drink water as and when they like, probably throughout the day, and it can easily satisfy the needs of 12 to 15 people. Let's scale this even further and bring it up to a lot of people. Say it's a small township of thousands of people living in a place like this. Again, this same water dispenser would not suffice for such a large housing complex. You need an overhead tank which will provide constant, reliable water supply to all of these different people. So as you can see, as the same as the number of the audience increases, the solution to the same problem, which is providing water, changes in its manifestation, right? So scaling requires new solutions, right?
Right.
A quick question to you, Ishan, and to the audience, maybe you can have a poll. How do you think, as an organization, do folks, or does the organization learn most effectively? Is it by focusing on quantity, that is to ship a lot of features frequently, Is it to focus on quality and use principles like test-driven development and get it first time right FTR? Or is it to focus on industry best practices and adopt those industry standard models and designs to your solution and go ahead with that?
I would say, to cover anything which is exhaustive in its own, maybe let's say I would go with the third part, because it would cover all the practices which, let's say, industry has, and we already know the problem. So we can obviously, going by the industry standards and understanding what already has been implemented, we can try to define our own solution, but we have to first start following what is already there in the market. So for me, I think the third would be the best answer.
Great. Now, all product rollouts are a combination of all three, and anyone who has worked in software for a while often has the sensation that, hey, why isn't my team focusing on quality? If they just give me a little more time, we could have done the same thing in half the total time taken with better quality, rather than trying to push things through. And of course, the thought is perfectly right that we are not trying to solve all the problems in the universe. 99% of them have been solved by someone else. Let's just adopt the industry best practices. That's a good benchmark to start from, and then we can further improve and develop our own solutions. Not a lot of people understand the value of quantity. Now, very surprisingly, this was demonstrated at a ceramics and photography class at University of Florida, where there were two groups of people, of students. So one group was asked to churn out ceramic pots, just a large quantity of them, right? So they would be graded based on the weight of the total ceramic pots that they had generated. So if they made, say, 40 kilos of pots, then they would get a grade B, and if they made 60 kilos, they probably would get a grade A, and so on. Whereas a second group was asked to focus on quality. So it didn't matter how many pots they built, so long as their final submission was one pot which they believed was a great quality pot, right? And depending on the different quality metrics, they would get a grade. Now, what happened at the end of the entire course of 6 months or whatever it was, is that, of course, the first group, which was asked to focus on quantity, obviously generated a lot more quantity. It was their job to do so, and compared to group B. But very surprisingly, the group A also produced the best quality of pots compared to group B, which in the literal quoting words of the case itself, they were stuck with a pile or a lump of dead clay, group B. Now, why does this happen? Because something like building clay pots or even shipping features in an organization is a skilled exercise. It's like learning to, say, play an instrument, or learning to play a sport, or exercising, or singing, or whatever, or painting, drawing, any kind of skill. Imagine trying to learn how to swim by reading a textbook, right? It doesn't matter. Of course, you do need a coach to focus on what could be done better, by which technique could be improved, where things are going wrong, and help you improve on those aspects. But focusing only on theory wouldn't work. To be able to play an instrument, or to be able to swim better, or whatever, you need to go to that ground and practice. Similarly, shipping is a skill. To get better at shipping, just ship more frequently, right? So at the end of the course, this group not only had the larger volume of pots, they also had the better quality of pots, just because they learned how to make better quality pots by making them. Whereas this group focused too much on the theory aspects of the right temperature of the kiln, and what should be the shape of the pot, and the color, and whatnot, and didn't put it into practice, and were not able to achieve their grades, right? So focus on skill, not theory, and practice, not philosophy.